guys, this is What If Superman Was in the Boys Part 4, and this is somewhat of a, pushing to the last episode. Basically, Part 5 for either 6 are going to be the final finale for this Season 1 ending of this story. So yeah, but I hope you guys really enjoyed this part. And last time I left off, a little bit of a recap. I left off near basically episode 4. I left off in episode 4 after they found, Kiriko, and also after Clark did change the whole balance of things with him saving the plane that was going to crash down when, Homelander sabotaged, or I guess screwed up and messed up the control panel. So Superman was the one that saved those people, and then it was a push for Supes to go into military even more now because they saved a bunch of people from terrorists with minimal to no casualties. So to put it simple, pretty much Clark did inadvertently make the Supes a lot more, I guess, powerful in terms of things. But other than that, it was a pretty good, thing going down. But we can switch to episode 5 and how everything's gonna go down. Story off in Cuba with Popclaw and A-Train basically on the run, as this also all happens. Now, basically, A-Train tells her that Stillwell has given us the green light for us to be a public couple, but I really need to know who you told about Compound V. I really need to know. I have to know. As this all happens, as we get switched down to basically, a shop store city near the main city where the 7th Tower is, called Star City. Star City does exist in this world as Star City, and we open up our story with this universe's version of Barry Allen, as this Barry Allen is played by Dylan O'Brien. As he goes into pretty much work, basically being kind of a, photographer / helper in Star Labs, as he basically just starts to mess up with electricity and stuff like that, as he also has a side job with, detectives, and also searching up and doing, investigations on Supe crimes and all sorts of other things, and also homicides and other things like that. As we get seen that, pretty much that night, as he's doing some, pretty much chemical stuff, because basically this story does lead off all the way through nighttime. Basically see Barry's life at Star Labs, as it's pretty nonchalant, chill, and overall just simple. As eventually hours and multiple days go on, not days, but multiple hours go on, as we see that Barry's dynamic with everybody at Star Labs is pretty chill, nonchalant, as he also is shown that he has a little bit of a crush on a Supe that works there at Star Labs. Her name is called Psylocke. Not Psylocke. Her name is called Iris. She's a Supe from North Carolina, and her power is literally just somewhat of a intuition type power. She has a crappy power. It doesn't really help her in any types of physical situations or fights, but it does give her a little bit of an edge in certain situations. In certain, bursts of energies or seconds, she has increased intelligence or reaction time. But other than that, she's basically useless, to keep it simple, and she can never turn her power on accurately. But this version of Barry Allen is actually kind of charismatic, kind of like Barry Allen from, pretty much Barry Allen from the first season of The Flash CW, and a mixture of a little bit of Peter Parker, Amazing Spider-Man type of, personality. A cool type nerdy kid. So we get shown that this story, this plot, and everything that's going on about everything is really just a big, elaborate plot of everything. It's getting shown that A-Train basically bodies. We get switched by the A-Train story. You said A-Train talks to Popclaw, gives him that talk, and says he loves her and all other stuff, and is really heartbroken to do this, as a lot more of a crucial, more, deep scene, as, A-Train looks at her. Now, in this universe, A-Train is a lot more faster in terms of speed and everything, as he's a little bit more pumped up on, Compound V as a baby. So he was injected a little bit, a gram more of Compound V, giving him over the years a lot more speed, giving him near the same speed or, reaction time as season 2 to 3 Barry Allen in the CW show. So he was pretty fast. This version of A-Train is incredibly fast. Not as fast as the CW as the DCU Flash or comic book Flash. Nowhere near that fast. A-Train goes back to the 7 Tower as we get shown that A-Train is actually been told to do this by Homelander. As Homelander says, "Is it done?" As A-Train says, "It's over." As he's done it. As Homelander looks at him and says, "Good job. But I have to tell you one thing. It's a new type of threat going around. Speculations about this new hooded figure. This dude. This suit. This unregistered suit. The powers of me that can over much." And internally, deep down and subconsciously in Homelander's mind, he knows this new figure, this unknown person, could defeat him. And he's too scared to admit that to A-Train's face. So he just talks to A-Train the same way like in canon in the story, as we get switched, and he talks about, these guys that are told about Compound V, as he gives A-Train a little bit of, I guess, he telling him he's proud of him and all his other men. As he walks off, as A-Train leaves, as we get switched back to Kiriko and the boys' story. As we see that Clark is there as well, talking to the boys and basically helping Frenchie with everything with Kiriko, being his backup in case Kiriko ever goes, rogue or goes crazy, if you know what I mean. But yeah, he gives him he gives her a full course like Italian Frenchman. I'm like, God dang, bro, I don't even eat that stuff at home. How you giving it to a freaking, I don't know, runaway slave? I don't know what she is. I don't know, but honestly, bro, like, dude, I don't even eat that stuff at home. Like, bro, I'm not even that rich. And they on the run and they making some food like that. Bro, Frenchie is a freaking like masterpiece, bro. Like, damn, bro, his food is atrocious. Not atrocious in a bad way, but it's like excellence. Like, it's amazing. But nonetheless, we get switched away from that story as we get switched to like a hippie group or something like that. And basically, we get switched to some soups, especially one soup in particular that's on like a spiritual bowl type stuff for like, simplicity and stuff like that. And we see multiple soups with the giant type powers doing some publicity stuff, like one soup with angel wings. Don't even know if she can actually fly. I don't know if those are just, a problem for her, but she has angel wings. And we see that Hughie accompanies pretty much Starlight. As we get switched back to Star City, as we see that, this version of Barry Allen is going around basically talking and everything like that, as he's also called up by his father. AKA this version of Barry Allen actually being Hughie's brother. Now, in this part of the story, Hughie's father has a bastard son, this being this version of the universe is Barry Allen. Meaning that in the future, I'm actually going to give Hughie powers. In season 2, I'm going to give him powers. Because mainly, this is my story, and plus a lot of more DC-inspired characters and DC-inspired characters are going to be plopped into into the boys universe somehow. Now, we get switched with pretty much the whole story, the whole dynamic with Starlight and Hughie and them going to this little, parade type thing and them talking and everything like that. It goes very similarly smooth, nothing really changing that much, and the story going exactly the same like in canon. Now, we get switched near the end of this whole thing as we get switched to Queen Maeve talking to Homelander, doing this whole thing, as they're just walking in a park somewhere. Well, not really walking, but they're more or less just staying there, or sitting down at the time. And we get switched back to the parade as Butcher comes across them and talks to them, as he's accompanied by Mother's Milk. And now, we get switched back to Star City, as we see this version of Barry Allen talk to Iris, as he's talking to her, pretty much being kind of a shy, nerdy type kid, as he's not really talking to her that much. Now, we would have to say that, he's kind of awkward, but we get switched away from that story back to the, pretty much meetup or I don't know, whatever parade thing, or carnival type thing they're doing, as Hughie has a little bit of visions of, I guess Charlie, not Charlie, but Robin and everything about her, and just him kind of going on something else. But he still talks to Starlight, as nothing really changes that much, like I said earlier. We get switched to Homelander, and he shows up, as the story goes exactly the same. Now, with everything with Popclaw, A-Train rewatching some movies from Popclaw, trying not to think hard about what he's done. As what goes on, we can switch back to Huey. I mean, not Huey. Clark, actually. As you see how Clark is going around the city, doing some photography and also doing some talks with some soups around the world. And also, he does arrive at the carnival area or place where Huey and Starlight is later in the episode. As we see that he does bump into Huey a little bit as he walks away from him and continues interviewing. As he interviews the Elastic Dude, as they get into kind of a scrabble, as he tries to fight Clark, as Clark asks too many questions and eventually gets off the secret that he knows about Compound V. As this dude lunges towards Clark, as Clark grabs his arm and basically rips it off of his shoulders and punches him dead in his jaw. As the dude is still alive, him using his laser vision to suture the wound, not stopping any more blood loss, as he super speeds off the scene. As a couple hours later, medical and police show up, and some VOT trainees show up as well. And basically, Steadman is like going crazy because all this stuff is going down, alongside the ship down below with laser vision holes on it, and with the laser vision that Clark has, it may be put on him as well, but isn't over just yet. Now we can switch back to Barry's story, and at this point it will be nighttime. As a storm breaks down that night, change the story a little bit as Clark hears a storm, as it's different this time, as there's some sort of change in the atmosphere, like a cold silence that cannot be really recognized. As Clark is outside on the balcony looking around, as he hears a big unnatural lightning bolt, as a huge explosion breaks down near Star City, down a few blocks away from where he lives in the penthouse near Vought. As half of the city, about 50 to 60% of the city's population, gets hit by the particle accelerator, giving multiple creeps, bad guys, regular people, and some soups being hit with the particle accelerator, changing their powers drastically, and basically giving people superpowers around the world, making a whole Flash Season 1 type of situation. As Barry's also hit by his particle accelerator, by also at the same time getting hit by a bolt of lightning from the Speed Force. As that night, the boys' version of the Flash is born. Now, we can switch to Clark running around the city in his, black hoodie, as he's kind of changed it out with a midnight blue. As he looks around the city, as he sees cops run around, as it's explosions, city, and basically breakouts and blackouts all around the city. As he sees people with powers run around loose in the city, one particular person in the visual. As he flies down and grabs this person, as he pushes him aside and says, "What are you? How do you have powers?" As he smells him and he knows that there's no Compound V in his system at all. As the guy gets up and touches Clark, and Clark starts to fade onto the ground, as the guy looks at him and saying, interesting. As he looks at the guy's hands, it starts to turn purple, as this guy is the boys' universe's version of Parasite. As he's starting to latch away or take Clark's powers, or basically suck his energy. Basically, Clark looks at him and hits him with a laser beam that's kind of like more of a kinetic punch, kind of like Cyclops' powers, pushing the guy back as Clark scurries off or limps off into the alleyways, getting away from this dude, as he pretty much runs off, as he eventually comes to the nearby beach and passes out. In the morning, he's in the sunlight as he wakes up with some kids on top of him. As he pushes them aside and gets up, as he limps off away. As we get switched to, the next morning, as Barry is in a coma. Now, Barry's gonna be in a coma until the end of the season, or basically maybe until season 2. But since he's in a coma, his emergency contact is his father. As his father finds out, it's time to tell Huey about the truth. As that later that day, Huey's also told that he has a half-brother, Barry Allen. Now we get switched to the end of this story for now, as basically everything in the story past that point with, everything going down, but also basically the fight scene with, well, Black Noir, the boy, keeps going down with Kiriko. And this fight scene is crazy. Let me narrate it for you real quick, my boy. Now, with Black Noir being a better version of pretty much, well, his original self, him being more or less a Superman, not a Superman, a Batman ripoff, having a lot more, skill and money and a lot more gadgets on him, as he starts to, beat the ever-living crap out of Kiriko. As he fights Kiriko, as Kiriko tries to punch him, as he dodges and dodges, and eventually Kiriko is actually detained, basically not even landing a blow on Black Noir. As out of nowhere, Clark shows up, punching Black Noir dead in his back. As basically, no, not Clark, but somebody else. Green Arrow comes up behind Black Noir as they fight, and Black Noir gets hit upside the forehead a couple times, getting whacked again and again and again. The fight going crazy, and then eventually being another part of the tower or another building side. As Kiriko is also a part of this fight, them going like a three-way type fight. As basically out of nowhere, Green Arrow gets kind of frustrated with Kiriko trying to fight both of them at the same time, so he just hits her with a nerve arrow, basically shutting off her nervous system for a few seconds, knocking her out, and basically making her temporarily paralyzed. As she's also pretty much shot with the arrow being kind of violent, as it pretty much cuts through her flesh, leaving her on the ground wounded. As you also see that, well, Black Noir fights Green Arrow, as Green Arrow can't fight him one-on-one with pure raw strength or skill, so he just hits him with some smarts, using a shock arrow, knocking or shocking, pretty much Black Noir's nervous system on another unworldly level, basically shocking his nervous system to a point where it even gets, sharded or pretty much burned alive. As he wakes up a few hours later, though, as Kiriko's gone and Green Arrow is also gone. Now, guys, I'm gonna leave it off here. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Hope you guys like and subscribe. And as always, guys, have a blessed day. Deuces.